So, good afternoon. Thank you for the introduction. Yeah, I have to stand here. Thank you. Uh, I wanted to introduce standards first, then we move on to GIDW. You all guys are expert in testing. I also come from a testing background. STQC is one of the government organization which is actually a quality arm of all the government projects. So, my presentation or keynote, whatever you call, is titled Nest E-Governance and Standards. Let us elaborate the word Nest. Nest is a project within DITI, now MIghty. Earlier it was DITI, now it is MIghty. It is National Center for E-Governance Standards and Technology. Quite lately, all government businesses, especially in the area of e-governance, have realized the importance of testing, thankfully, and standards. So this is a project given by DITI, now MIT, to us to create awareness in terms of standards, to create awareness in terms of quality assurance, why it is important. We have been doing this quite a lot. You must agree with that. And STQC for long have been telling this, but now it's the right time that we make them more aware. So that is why this project was established. In phase one of the project, 48 standards were released. They are all e-governance standards, vis-a-vis the quality assurance is done. And now in phase two, we are expected to release around 50 standards, plus capacity building of all the standards. That is how we'll go about. Okay, how about this picture? It makes sense in the world of standards? Anybody? Some bells are ringing somewhere? This picture is, a manifestation or the genesis of standards. Our Indian mythology says there was a King Prithu. Before King Prithu, there was no system in the society. Everybody was doing what he or she wished for. So one day, Mother Earth told, I had enough. I will not start, I will not allow any plants to grow. I will not allow any animals to breed, and that's about it. So King Pruthu got very angry and he charged Mother Earth. So Mother Earth took the shape or incarnation of a cow and was running, and King Pruthu was after the cow. And we have reference of Kamdhenu cow and all. That is somewhere linked to this. But important point is, Mother Earth said, okay, I will be in my former shape again, but promise me now you will have some kind of system in the society, some kind of procedures in the society so that everybody knows what to do. So King Pruthu adopted her, and that is why we call Mother Earth as Prithvi. And that is the genesis of standards. From there we had standards, procedures made for everything. Just a food for thought that how the standards have come into the role and how much they are important. Before going into the detail of policies, frameworks, and standards, are we aware what is good governance? And I am not referring good governance in terms of government only. Good governance is anywhere, all pervasive. So, is it about people, or is it about the top management, or we can say is it about the government, or is it about both? It is about both. So I cannot blame the government that this is not done. Government cannot blame me. So if we have to establish good governance, it will be by standards and procedures. But let us look at some principles of good governance. First and foremost is accountability. You agree? I'm not going into the details. We have less time. The pictures are saying enough. Am I moving too much? So please let me know because it's yeah, okay. So we have to be accountable. Eh, Don't read it as public officials in the sense of a government people, but for everybody. Our bosses have to be accountable to us. We have to be accountable to our people. Then we are succeeding in our mission. Then we have to be transparent, obviously. See, now what is happening is we have heard the story of Sheraya, 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 but finally, when actual the lion comes, we don't trust. That is happening with the government now. Whatever initiatives, whatever things government is doing, people just refuse to believe. इसके पीछे तो कुछ गड़बड़ है, right? So that has happened because we were not being very transparent. We have given certain contracts to somebody, we were not being transparent, but now that has to stop. That is one of the principles of good governance. Then responsive, of course. If there is a requirement of laying of roads, providing electricity, we have to be responsive. We should not wait for people to tell us. Of course, they have to tell us, but we should not wait for that. Similarly, efficient, effective processes, equitable and inclusive. This is very important. Here the role of employees or people or everybody comes in. If we have to run this company well, everybody needs to be involved. Employees need to be involved, like the forums like this are the same thing we are talking about. We are getting ideas, we are getting new information here. Rules, of course, again, rules have to be followed. Participatory and consent oriented. So these are basic principles of a good governance. How they can be achieved? They can be achieved by standards and procedures. So standards are important, and for our world, QA world, standards are the reference. They are the reference for any kind of testing we are doing. They are the reference of any kind of deployment and implementations we are doing. So they are very important. Now, you must have heard this word Digital India quite a lot. I'm not going into the details of Digital India. It's a whole program. But I want to just pinpoint a place where Digital India also refers standards. They are so important. Digital India has 9 pillars. For us, for all of the people present here, these 2, 4 and 5 are the most important if you are moving into a e-governance space. Reforming government through technology, purely ICT, and e-Kranti, which is electronic delivery of services. In e-Kranti, the principles of e-Kranti, point number 8 is mandating standards and protocols. Means whatever a government is doing, it has to be referenced or benchmarked or with a certain standards which is available. That is why our job becomes very important. Our job is not only, having a standard, giving to them. Our job is making them understand what a standard is all about, what standard can do for us, and what benefits it brings out if we have a standard implementation. And QA world becomes easy, right? So this is how Digital India talks about. And you must have heard certain terminologies like standards, recommended practices, guides. The only difference is standards are, it will qualify with the word shall. Your guides will have word may. So just a terminology difference, but there are some procedures, some documents which are written. Standard in a very strict sense, guides in a slightly circumventing sense, and they recommend certain practices to be used. That's all.